Hello and welcome to tip number 5 of our 30 days of maternity leave budgeting and planning tips. So I'm Charlene Smith and I'm the author of The Mum's Guide, which is a book to help you financially plan and prepare for maternity leave. So today's topic and tip number 5 is maternity leave and bank holidays. So the tip I'm going to cover today is relevant for the UK, but the logic and the principles of what you're entitled to should apply in other countries. Some countries, obviously, we call them public holidays. So in Australia, where I'm originally from, I think we have maybe 2 bank holidays, but here in the UK, every public holiday is referred to as a bank holiday. Okay, so you're in the right place if you're thinking about having a baby and you're just not quite sure if you can afford it. You're a bit confused by the rules around maternity leave and maternity pay and so on. Expecting, and if you are, congratulations. Might be a bit confused, not quite sure what you need to do to get yourself ready. So the topics I write are not about the medical stuff. You've got a whole team of medical experts out there to look after you. This is more from the kind of planning, the logistics, and importantly the budgeting and the money side of things. So what do you need to do to make sure you don't run out of money on maternity leave? Trust me, it's not a pleasant experience. You might already be on maternity leave, so this is still relevant for you. All a bit of a shock. You haven't really got a plan. All you know is you're going to run out of money one day in the not too distant future, and you're not quite sure what can you do to make sure that doesn't happen. So all these tips are relevant for you, and the stuff I cover in my book is just as relevant if your baby's already here, if you're still sort of planning what you're going to do on maternity leave. Okay, so today we're going to cover maternity leave and bank holidays, and sort of what happens to them, what are the rules, and what do you need to know. So I'm Charlene, I'm the author of The Mum's Guide to Money, so I also write a blog on mums to be and new mums are interested in, so around money, planning, shopping, and all those kinds of good things. As I said, it's not medical, leave that to the experts. So I've got 3 children. I've got twins, and my eldest was a single pregnancy. So I've been through 2 very different maternity leaves from a money perspective, and obviously the difference between having 1 baby to look after and having 3 children to look after and make that money go so much further is quite a challenge, which I wasn't prepared for, which kind of inspired me to write my book. So last year I started to write the blog sort of the back end of the summer as the nights were drawing in, and I didn't sort of have much to keep me entertained because obviously the rubbish television had started. So I started to write my blog, and then I thought, oh, what am I going to do with this? I know, let's write a book, because as if I haven't got enough to deal with. So that's how the Mum's Guide to Money came about. So very much focused on the money topics that mums are interested in, because we all know that children are very expensive, and they you've got to work really hard to make sure your money goes as far as possible. So in today's topic we're covering bank or public holidays, depending on where you're from. So here in the UK it depends. Bank holidays and maternity leave, obviously you need to look to your employment contract. So if you would normally get paid for bank holidays, now I know not everybody has a nice sort of 9 to 5 office job like me, and most of you do work on weekends and public holidays. So if you would normally get paid bank holidays and it's in your employment contract, then these should carry on sort of building up while you're on maternity leave. So it's really important that you do check in that sort of paragraph in your contract as to what it says around bank holidays. So if you normally get paid for your bank holidays, then it's reasonable for you to expect that would start during maternity leave. So if you're entitled to bank holidays, when do I get them paid? So this is obviously we're specifically talking about that 52-week period of maternity leave. Obviously not everyone takes 52 weeks, but it's that official time period where it's called maternity leave. So if they're part of your contract, then they should either be paid to you or you should be allowed to take them after maternity leave is finished. And that part is really important. So if you are on maternity leave at Easter time, when there's normally 2 bank holidays, you can't expect to be paid for those, because having those paid to you is outside the kind of rules of maternity pay. So all of those days get kept until the end of your maternity leave, and you either take them before you come back to work, or they should be paid to you. So the reason why you can't get them paid as you normally would, if you're off on maternity, say January to December, there's sort of about 10 days worth of public holidays in that time. You can't receive your normal pay when that official maternity leave is happening. And if you do, your maternity leave is deemed to be over. And then obviously, as soon as that happened, you'll be forced back to work, and you might not be ready for that. So really important that you check that pay you by accident, for example. So if you're off around Easter or around May, when we have lots of bank holidays, do check your pay slips, make sure no mistakes are made and they haven't accidentally paid you for those bank holidays, because I'd hate for you then to find out that your maternity leave is over because of a mess up that's happened with your payroll. So when the time comes to end, so if you're taking the year off, it's January to December. Come to December, when maternity officially is over and you're looking to use up all of your leave, expect those bank holidays that you then need to take before you come back to work. So anything other than maternity pay or kit days that are paid once you're on maternity leave, and that includes the bank holidays and the annual leave, because like I said, if they are paid during that official maternity leave time, your maternity leave will be over. Excuse me. So what's the benefit to me? So if you work full-time, and this, when I say work full-time, I mean sort of pre-baby, and depending on which country of the UK you live in, because bank holidays do vary between them all, this could get you at nearly sort of 2 weeks of extra paid leave that you can take at the end of maternity. So remember, it's really important, maternity leave has to officially be over before you can take them. Remember that your entitlement is based on your old work pattern, so if you're going back part-time, make sure you don't elect to do that until you are properly back in the office. It's based on what you did before. So if you worked full-time before, then you should get paid the whole year's worth of bank holidays, so that depending on where you live, could be up to 2 weeks. So how do I make sure I get paid for these days? So with anything to do with maternity leave, some of the biggest mistakes I see in various conversations I've had with people, and I see sort of the biggest stress questions that come onto social media. I've left it with my manager, they've not come back to me, now they've left. It's all a big mess. Always write to payroll, write to your HR team. If you work in a really small company, whoever it is that pays your pay every month, make sure it's in writing, and they've got all the information from you around your maternity pay, your maternity leave, and so on. Because if you leave it with a manager, they might get made redundant while you're off, or they might leave. So it certainly happened to me on my second maternity. My manager sadly was made redundant. Everything we'd agreed before I went off in terms of what I would do when I came back, all lost. Came back, didn't know my new manager. She didn't really care. She was very much black and white about everything, and it didn't end well. So absolutely make sure you inform more than just your manager. So let me know in the comments, are you planning on taking a full year off? Are you undecided yet? Are you sort of 50-50? And one of the topics that I cover in my book is around how to figure out how long to have off, because it's a really tough decision. So in my own situation, I did have 6 months off the first time, and that was probably just enough. I was desperate to go back to work because I thought that's what I had to do. Thankfully things are a bit more relaxed now, especially around sort of work-life balance, etc. And then the second time round, I thought, yes, I'm definitely having a year off. I'm having twins. I'm going to need all of the rest I can get. But unfortunately, I never had a plan. So I was just spending money like I normally would. Hadn't really made a plan for how I would all of a sudden split my money between two extra people. And I ran out of money, sadly. So after 6 months, I was literally tipping money out of money boxes to pay for us to go to baby groups. And I'm kind of not ashamed to say that, and that's one of the reasons why I've written this book. Because if I, like the first time, I had a plan, it was all calculated to the penny, I probably wouldn't have found myself in that situation. And also some of that was to do with me not officially writing to payroll myself. I left it with my manager, and things weren't quite done properly. So a couple of lessons learned there for everybody. So yeah, I ended up having to say I was going to come back early because I ran out of money. So do make sure that you think about things properly. You make a plan, you make a budget, you save some money, and if if you never make another budget again in your life, this is the one time that you need to do it. So in terms of how you can get the longest possible maternity leave, so I cover this in lots of my other videos, on the various different component parts. Because you think about the time you're away from work, it is quite a long time, and maternity leave is kind of only part of that puzzle. So in other videos, obviously talk about these in more detail, but before your due date, if you've got some leave owed to you, take it. Because the last thing you want to do is be starting that maternity leave until you absolutely have to. Two reasons. Number one, your maternity pay starts as soon as you start maternity leave, and if you're only getting statutory maternity pay, it could have the higher amount you get, which is only for 6 weeks, baby might not even be here, and you're on that really low weekly amount. Second thing is, if you start really early, and the baby might be still 4-6 weeks away, you could be forced back to work before you're ready, because as soon as it starts, the clock starts ticking on that 52 weeks or however long, if it's less than that, you're having off. So once your maternity leave is sort of that official bit is over, obviously use up the bank holidays that you've missed out on, use up all of the annual leave that you've missed out on as well. And then you've also got the option of unpaid parental leave. So when I did this slide, it was 4 weeks, but I think there's been some changes recently, so I probably need to check that and update it. But this is just an example. If you really wanted to extend your leave as long as you possibly could, some strategies that you can put in place to make that happen for you. So as I said before, in my book, one of the things I did talk about is how long, so answering that, how long can I have for maternity leave? So there's loads of things in there to kind of get your brain going and thinking about what the right decision might be for you. So I stressed about it for quite a long time. I did lots of umming and ahhing and what about this and what about that. And so the first time round I was really quite stressed and really trying to do the best for my job. Probably more than anything else. I was so scared of upsetting my manager, upsetting the company I worked for, and it didn't do me any favours in the long term. So lots of questions probably going around in your head, and I said one of the topics of the book is all about figuring out how long to have off. Lots of great activities to help you maybe come to an answer. I can't give you the answer, and you know that. But there's lots of questions in there to get your thought patterns going, and I say maybe come to an answer at the end. So as an extra for the book, I've got all this sort of bonus content, so all of that's available from my website, whereas obviously the book's from Amazon, and it's just a nice place for you to write down your thoughts, answer some of the questions that are in the book. So it's like a planner, which you can just download for free. You can print it or not print it. I don't save any files, but yeah, the file's yours, and you can go off and do what you want to do with it. And then sort of the final thing I do have with that for free is my budget calculator. So if you're not very good at maths, you just want to tell the computer or your phone or your tablet what the numbers are and put them in, it'll do all the hard work for you. So in another video, probably maybe over the weekend, I might try and do a demonstration of how that works for people. So that stuff, like I say, it's all free. I've done all the hard work. You just need to kind of download the files and away you go. So this is a bit of an inside look at what the budget calculator is. So it is lots of space for you to just put your income in, your outgoings, and oh, excuse me, starts to tell you you pinpoint when you might run out of money. So after a couple of months, as your maternity pay starts to drift away, but obviously your expenses aren't going to drift off. Um, what sort of numbers you're looking at? So when are you going to run out of money? And that will help you figure out how much you should save. So in these next few months, you'll be working very hard to save money, to make sure that you're as comfortable as you can be on maternity leave. So inside the planner, there's sort of the 10 topics we cover here. Lots of questions that you'll walk away, hopefully with answers to, that are sort of racing around. Like I said, there's a whole section on figuring out how long to take for maternity leave. Others around sort of figuring out, getting everything you need, what you need to put into your budget, where do you find the information, and so on. Some top tips for kind of saving money, tracking how much you need to save. And probably drawing to your attention how little changes can make a big difference to that maternity leave money saving kind of pot that you're trying to get together. It helps you finally in chapter 6, so as a reformed shopaholic, a topic close to my heart. There's all the lists and planners of what you need for the baby, how much of each size. There's places for you to kind of tick it off where you're going to get it from. Will you get it from someone? You're going to ask for someone to gift it to you. You're going to buy it. You're going to buy it second hand. Are you going to have it sort of as a hand-me-down from someone? Lots of places to tick stuff off and start to get that kind of organised feeling that I know full well you kind of need to start having in those last couple of months. So that's been tip number 5. So I say this is the 5th in a series of 30. So we're sort of almost at the end of week 1. So come back tomorrow. It'll probably be in the afternoon because I've got something else on tomorrow evening. So come back tomorrow and we'll do tip number 6. And then that should see you through and some more maternity leave planning. So thanks for listening and bye for now.